Hello, I'm Edmund Dudley. I'm a teacher trainer, and I'm going to look at some practical suggestions for assessing students' learning. What type of assessment is more feasible now? The move to remote learning is making it difficult for teachers to know how best to assess their students' work. What are the options? Assessment of learning is the traditional method of formal assessment used in many face-to-face contexts. Assessment of learning is concerned with learning outcomes, that is, measuring what or how much students have managed to learn. It's usually graded against a set of objective criteria, and it can take the form of exams, tests, assignments, and essays. It's summative, which means it's designed to draw a line under prior learning and perhaps marks the end of a period of study. The other alternative is assessment for learning. This is less traditional, but a highly effective method for motivating students to become more autonomous in their learning. And it can be used in face-to-face or distance contexts. Assessment for learning is concerned with the learning processes, that is, measuring how effectively students are learning and identifying strategies to help them and to help them help themselves. It's usually not graded and instead is based on qualitative feedback. It's more student-specific and descriptive. It can take the form of discussions, quizzes, low-stakes group work. And it's formative, which is that it's designed to be diagnostic and helps the teacher to make decisions about how to proceed, and gives the students ideas about how to change their approach to learning. In the current climate, doing formal testing is proving to be difficult. Here are some of the issues. Formal testing is hard to set up remotely. Students can look up the answers, and students can confer with others. So what can be done? Well, if formal testing is hard to set up remotely, it makes sense to look at alternative methods. And if teachers find that students are looking up the answers to questions set, then it might be an idea to try tasks that are based on research and creativity and to develop those skills. And if teachers find that students can confer with other people, then why not harness this by building collaboration and cooperation into the tasks themselves and also into the way that they are evaluated. For this reason, it seems to me that assessment for learning could be an avenue to explore for assessing students during remote teaching. If assessment of learning tries to measure previous learning, you could say that assessment for learning is based on trying to plan future learning, to identify the best next steps to be taken. A key component of this process is effective feedback from the teacher, which is given during and directly after the learning phase. Let's take a look at some of the principles of giving effective feedback. First, you want to involve learners in the process, something that can be done by asking questions. We want to get students thinking, to encourage self-evaluation, which is a kind of self-awareness. It's important to set learning challenges because different learners learn in different ways and at different paces. So allowing students to set challenges for themselves is therefore a good idea. We want to make feedback affirming and critical. You could say we should be dealing in medals and missions, where medals are students' accomplishments and missions are specific action points. And very importantly, we want to keep looking forward, using assessment as a tool to shape future learning opportunities. That's a positive, constructive, and motivating way to approach assessment. Let's take a look at how this might work in practice. As an example, imagine that you're going to ask your students to take part in a graded readers program, where they choose graded readers from Oxford Learners Bookshelf, read books, and then make a reader quiz about that book to be completed by others in the group. Each time they finish reading a new book, they also read the quiz questions about that book written by a classmate and try to answer the questions. Assessing learners' progress is done both by the teacher and the student themselves, and assessment for learning involves the students in every stage of the process. There are choices that need to be made. The students can ask, "What's best for me?" as they choose what to read and why. There are goals. The students ask, "What do I need to do?" This reading project, for example, involves reading, researching answers, creating quizzes, and also evaluating their own work and their classmates' work. And there are clear success criteria. The students are asking, "What am I aiming for?" as they set themselves a challenge, for example, a certain number of titles, quizzes to complete in a given time. Now, let's think about assessment for learning feedback for students working on a project like this. Remember, effective feedback is designed to enhance the learning process, not to give students grades on what they've done. We want to help students develop strategies. Think about what each student needs and give feedback that's appropriate to their level. Less confident learners might need an example or a scaffold. More confident learners can be given a reminder or a provocative question designed to get them thinking. In many cases, asking students questions is an effective technique. Here are some practical suggestions. For involving learners in the process, ask a question, for example, "How pleased are you with your progress? What advice could you give others?" For getting students thinking, you could ask, "Why do you think some people said your quiz was too easy?" To set learning challenges, you could ask a question such as this: "How many books and quizzes can you complete next month?" To be both affirming and critical, you could say things such as, "Well done for selecting books from different genres," and "Could you ask questions about both the story and the language in your quizzes?" And to keep looking forward, you could ask, "What kind of book are you going to read next? Why?" Notice that these questions and statements promote learning, and they also involve the students in evaluating their own work and their own working methods. Students may not get grades, but what they do get is a set of practical strategies to help them improve. For more information about assessment for learning, you can go to the expert section of OUP's ELT website, where you can download position papers, including this one on effective feedback, the key to successful assessment for learning. And for more resources for learning at home, see OUP's Learn at Home website.